Welcome to Heart Warriors Radio with your host, Ms. Jona Bryndis, and Mr. Jeff Casper, and me, Ryan McCormick. Learn more about Heart Warriors by going to our website, outerlimitsradio.com, clicking on Heart Warriors Radio, and also learn more about Jeff and Jona by going to the website at transcodes.com. Okay, so we're right on the cusp of 4th of July 2018. And if you look at Jeff and Jona's page, reading the energy, typically speaking, it is, mild to average. This week, it's like, holy shit! It is off the charts. Something big going to happen.
I was wondering which adjective you were going to choose.
Well, John Belushi from Animal House said it best. So, Chef, welcome to the program. Why is the energy so intense, and what's about to happen? What's about to physically manifest?
Well, okay, there's several aspects that come with this. I mean, we've been looking at, we constantly look at collective energies, and of course there's ups and downs, and there's, things with the lunar cycle, even though we're not astrologists or anything, but that we can notice. So people's energies shift towards full moons. Usually things get a little more heated, a little more intense. Then towards the solstices, which is, like right before Christmas and before 4th of July, basically. There's a lot of heat that comes in. It's about the dualities, okay? And right now, people are getting very heated up in various ways, okay? So they get a lot of sort of contradictory messages. There's a lot of flood of energy. It's information is really hard to process everything, and the uncertainty is triggering fear in people and also anger. So there's a lot of polarization going on in our societies, not just in the United States, but here in particular, because the political subjects, they seem to boil up so quickly right now that every week there's a new thing that kind of divides the nation. But this also happens worldwide right now. So it's this the clash of duality right now that heats things up. It's a lot of friction.
Yep. Yeah.
And it's almost at the point where people want a release. I mean, they just want to release that they're actually, okay with an explosion or with, something big happening. So there's a bit of a danger here too. For us to not get too pulled into this. Everybody's talking about how things are heated, how this is like this hot, boiling summer, and of course we have volcanoes and we have earthquakes and storms and all that. So you got to be careful to not get pulled into this. For someone who is actually aware and works with their own energies and is aware of inner dualities, which is ultimately the cause for getting into outer conflict, okay? If we are aware of our inner dualities, of our inner conflicts, and work on them, then it's actually not that bad. It's just really for those people who are not working on, their rigidity, their beliefs, and so forth.
Yeah.
If you're in the mind, and I'm wondering, even if you are, trying to become more light body or let's say, subjugate your ego more, be more in touch with your higher self or true spiritual nature, if you're going to get triggered anyway because your body is a biological, structure, your brain is a vehicle, and could it get, theoretically speaking, triggered by what's happening, regardless of how metaphysical, or regardless of how dedicated you are to not having it happen? Are we subject? Should we be upset if we do get triggered? Because that is a natural reaction from a biological body.
No, getting upset, it happens sometimes. We all get triggered from time to time, and if you get upset about being triggered or get upset about being upset, you're actually judging it. So that creates even more mind patterns and more drama and all that kind of stuff. The key to understand is that we're all human, and no matter how how much we transcend, how much we let go of, there's still chances where our reactivity, our emotionality gets us. Something triggers we're not aware of. We go into a karmic pattern or an emotional pattern or a shadow trait or whatever you want to call that, ego pattern. The trick is how fast do you get back out of it. It doesn't matter where you stop it. It's how fast you get back out of it. Not by judging it, by just accepting, okay, I got pissed off, or, whatever that person said made me afraid, or I feel guilty for some odd reason. Whatever the pattern is, it doesn't matter. It matters how fast you shift it. Because the faster you shift it, the less it affects you.
I mean, there is a part in our autonomous nervous system that can get triggered, by news, for instance, when everything's about fear, everything is about like negative news, okay, then our nervous system can respond to that with anxiety, for instance, or with depression, and that's not something we can actually control. So in that way, I agree with you, Ryan. There's a part of us that will respond to something, but as Jeff just said, for someone who's actually aware and working with their own energies, you can learn, like say, for instance, mindfulness and meditation. Those are the most effective tools for us to get out of our mind, and to not get pulled into the anxiety, and the what if, and oh my God,
And also refraining from exposing yourself too much to those things. If you watch any news channel for at least an hour a day, you're going to be in anxiety. Because right now there's just this push for showing how different people are. It's creating more separation, regardless of which one you watch. And I'm not judging any of them. Some of them are fairly decent, some of them aren't. But it's just a level of drama. So what happens is if you get fixated on things like that, and it wouldn't matter if you watched a bunch of violent videos or movies or whatever, any type of exposure like that continuously begins to throw off our energy system. It's no different than if you listen to heavy metal music for 3 or 4 hours. You're going to get a little reactive. And that's where you learn how to manage your energy by understanding that's probably not going where I want to go.
Got it. So we want to pull away from it. But,
getting out of the mind is really important right now.
Like a great example of that, to understand how that works, if anybody's ever played any video game that involves driving, and then they go drive themselves like an hour later, you will drive like a maniac, or feel like you're going psychotically slow.
Grand Theft Auto. And then you want to get out and beat people up.
Yeah, we played Mario Kart years ago with some kids I knew, and just because they wanted to show it to us, and on the way home I thought, 25 just is not cutting it, Why can't I hit these things? So it's just that exposure. It creates that setup. So trick is one, to catch it before you drop, and then 2, find what things seem to drop you faster, and begin to see, do you really need those?
And develop a strategy how to get out of your mind into your heart real quickly.
Exactly.
Breathing is, of course, one of those really commonly recommended ways, of connecting with your body real quickly and slowing down your heart rate and, slowing down your nervous system. But meditation is definitely one of those ways that allow us to train that muscle, that allow us to train that part in us that can disengage. Maybe not 100% of the time, but, better and, and bit by bit, the more we practice it. So there's a bit of a discipline needed to remind ourselves to connect when we go there. It is right now a time of anxiety, of panic, and, of fear, okay? And so people have, this trigger in them to go into anxiety, all right? And for anyone with, this pattern, this coping pattern, to go into this, mental turning, okay, it is almost vital, to know, to have a good strategy, how to switch out of that.
Right.
It's not just about spiritual stuff. This is actually, learning how to work with your energies on a physical, emotional, mental, and energetic level.
Well,
so connection is the antidote, basically.
Yeah.
Any type of connection, and for the 4th of July coming up, where people naturally go into socialization, where they meet up with family or friends. It's a two-edged sword, because you have this exposure on the one hand, and here you're now meeting up with a lot of people who are, talking about the latest news and the latest shootings and the latest, fear mongering.
Right.
And at the same time, you also have an opportunity to really go into connection with others. So in the energy update today, I said that if you are already in a state of isolation and depression, then it's important that you actually get up and go out.
Right.
Okay, even if it's counterintuitive, because you want to cave in.
Right.
All right. On that vibrational level, physical motion, just simply getting off the couch and talking or seeing somebody will lift your energy. Tiny little bit, but just enough to get you out of depression. When you are in a more sort of transcendent state, in a more processed state, and for those of us here, who are on this active journey of decoding the truth and really feeling into their inner truth. For us, the task is a little different. For us, the task is more selective. It's more like, okay, let's say we are at a 4th of July party, and this, of course, only counts for the United States anyway. Anywhere in the world, it's not a holiday weekend. But for us here, it's really about, whom do I want to be with? And who do I want to be? Is it, how other people want to see me? Do I need to please? Do I need to suck up? Do I need to, be quiet? Or, can I express myself? So for us, the task is more to go into true expression and to communicate that. And to select or discern, which of the connections that we are making or that we've had, and this includes our relationships, are actually conducive for us and which aren't. So this is where a lot of people, a lot of energetically sensitives are at the moment. Like figuring this out, like which of my relationships are actually good for me and which aren't. And what was based on externalization, what was based on identifications, personifications, and so forth. Those are all mental concepts, and they all need to be transcendent right now. Okay, so this can be a little painful in a different way. It's not the anxiety or the panic that can get us, but it can get it.
Can I give everyone a bad piece of advice?
A bad piece of advice?
Yeah.
That always works.
Yeah.
Well, if you don't care what anyone thinks, then you totally, the pressure's down. So you can walk out and do whatever you want, like 4th of July. I care what my wife thinks because she's got the keys to the house. So I've got to impress one person, but everyone else doesn't have the key to my house. So technically I can't get locked down on my house. So I'm going to go to the pool, drink some beers, and shoot fireworks off at people. And that'll just limit the amount of Christmas cards I can send out throughout the year. Now, that works for me. I'm not saying you should do it, but it takes a lot of the pressure off.
And this is important. This has to do with this mental fixation, right?
Yeah.
It's we can't control what other people think of us or about us anyways. No. Okay, so there's no point in thinking about it or trying to change it or suck it up or being nice when we actually feel that a person is really mean or attacking, because they're going to think of us whatever it is that what their picture in their mind is of us.
Well, shifting a little bit, one of your great articles that you have today is true love possible? How to align and to trust unconditionally and allowing. So, I don't know. Is it possible to actually meet someone, fall in love, and tolerate them, and actually tolerate them, not just say you tolerate them, while meanwhile crying yourself to sleep? So we'll start with you, Mr. Casper.
By crying yourself to sleep?
Yeah. Is it possible? Because some people say, oh, we're in love, we love each other. Meanwhile, behind closed doors, they're like, oh, my God, where's the booze? Oh, my God. I can't put up this public front anymore.
Well, this is exactly what this is about, right. We have, there's, of course, several things that come together. So when it comes to true love, there's a lot of expectation. There's a lot of unrealistic, ideas of what that is and the one and only. And, of course, at some point there's like it's sobering, you know, where we're like, okay, so now that I'm committed, you know, what am I going to do? You know, if it's not conducive for me, it's not true to me. That's pretty much the bottom line. You know, so if, and conducive here just as a benchmark, has nothing to do with if it feels good or not. It has something to do with, you know, if it actually uplifts me, or if it makes me grow, if it makes me expand, versus a relationship where I just want to avoid, where I don't want to connect, where I feel like, you know, caught in prison. That would be non-conducive for us.
Right. Well, and if you also get into a state, because love itself, true love, is actually an energetic state that you actually align to. It has nothing to do with another person at all. You know, you can actually get into the state of lovingness or true love yourself, and you can see and respect everybody. You can actually love everybody. When it comes to a relationship, if both people are working towards that, then what happens is it moves out of externalized love, where there's two people who need the other person to fulfill that belief that love comes from outside, which is typically from a variety of outdated and very limited and typically immature thought processes that we all have developed over time from, you know, you name it.
Or inherited.
Yeah. I mean, if you watch 10 Disney movies, you believe, you know, that's all it takes, especially the old ones, because all you need to know is that you have to find that one person. And what is more important from a spiritual standpoint is to work on yourself, work on your own energy, so you can begin to love yourself. The more you can love yourself, the higher propensity you have, one, to find someone else who actually is on the same path, but also be able to love them and for who they are and not to be externalized. So if they decide to say, oh, this isn't working anymore, it won't mean that you don't have pain, but you don't hold on. It won't be this devastating loss.
Well, why does it take so long to find people? Some people, they find the one that their soulmate early in life. Other people, it takes a very long time. Like, it took me a pretty long time for to find someone. And then my wife, and it just clicked. And it was instantaneous, and it was strange. But it was like a crazy process. So I'm thinking, is there anything that people can do to accelerate how quickly they can find their soulmate and get their life going?
I'll give you that one, hon. You can have that.
If there was one answer to that, of course, then we'd be billionaires. But you know, it from a spiritual standpoint, it just takes as long as it takes, you know, whenever a person is ready. Now, the bigger problem is this whole true love and the one and only part of that. So there is these expectations, and of course, people have negative experiences in the past, and that's kind of like what we talked about earlier. It triggers the fear, it triggers the victimhood, it triggers the anger, you know, it triggers a lot of different projections. So not to mention, you know, the stuff that we still have unresolved from our own childhood, you know, and our parents, because our parents, they are the first representations of love. And so, you know, there's so much that we carry. It's really staggering that the statistics, how 85% of all people actually marry a person that resembles, you know, their father or their mother.
Or the opposite of.
In that sort of main conflict. Right. To relive the main conflict. So this is what we bring in, you know, karmically or you know, child-wise, you know, through, you know, insecure attachments, you know, and bring that into the relationship and project all that onto the partner. Yep. And it doesn't even have anything to do with the partner. But when it doesn't work out, you know, then our conclusion, of course, is that, you know, whatever the belief is, you know, all men are pigs or all women are bitches or whatever, you know, it feels reconfirmed, you know, and that hardens, you know, forms and hardens these walls around our heart. So we close our heart. We begin to disconnect. We begin to, you know, allow anger or fear to take over. And in the process, we also lose the ability to connect with ourself. And that's then where the cycle, you know, closes again to what Jeff just said, you know, that it's actually a resonance with it. You know, love and lovingness, the expression of love. And if we have shut that down, because of our experiences or the inability to open up in the first place, then it's very difficult for people to allow that, to allow intimacy, to allow connection, to allow trust. So it's not so hard to find somebody. It is so hard to open ourselves up. That's what the problem is. And there is, of course, divine intervention sometimes, like you've just said. There are situations where people come together and there just is this immediate and energetic resonance there. And it's no question, and it's no problem to open up where before it was impossible for us to do this. So some people have that, experience of feeling, that they're being guided to that. And that's also where this whole, discussion with like twin flames and twin souls and soulmates comes from. But in our experience as energy healers, it's really in the work that a person does on themselves, in their ability to connect within themselves. And so the answer to that question is yes, but it's work. But then again, to get a relationship, to be happy and lasting, that takes work also.
Yep.
So if we invest in ourselves here, and really work on these aspects of inner connection, hard, getting out of our minds, and transcending some of these triggers, or at least, learning how to catch them, but becoming more aware of our ego patterns, things such as pleasing and this whole projection thing that we talked about. That, increases our chances of being happy with someone manifold. And it also makes the relationship work easier, especially when both are on the same path. Both on the same path, then things can go very quickly.
Some people, they look for that soulmate. They want to find the ultimate happiness. However, if they're in a relationship with someone who's driving them absolutely crazy, could that also be part of the reason why they came and incarnated in the first place? Was it maybe to resolve an issue that had not been resolved from a previous life incarnation? Is the conflict that they're having at its high intensity level, while seen as unhealthy to the person is it actually metaphysically good that it's happening?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, it depends. I mean, it is a good thing because typically we do. Mostly in our relationships, you will see these repetitive patterns that keep showing up until we realize maybe we want to change it. And sometimes we don't because we like them, and that's fine. There might be various reasons why you like them, but if it keeps happening and you realize it's unhealthy, the only way you're going to change that's not by replacing the partner. You're going to have to put the same type person again. It's by changing and healing yourself. Because what happens a lot of times, either through the life they currently are in, or due to past karmic issues and karmic debt that came in, they have this setup to either deal with addiction or codependency or abuse or whatever their problem is. And sure enough, it shows up typically in their childhood, and then typically again when they go out and have their own relationships. And yes, there's a beauty in that, because what happens typically is, unless a person's completely in their ego, eventually that begins to hurt so much they start seeking solutions. They start seeking something different. And typically at first that's usually getting rid of a partner. They think it's the partner's fault. And maybe partially. But typically it's the stuff happening in the person, because they start to realize they keep getting the same type of person over and over again. That's a sign.
Or same type of relationship,
yeah,
say.
Exactly.
I mean, from a spiritual, energetic point of view, there's a mirroring that happens in relationships, and one of the things, and that's maybe a good thought, or a little food for thought or reflection here. What bugs us the most in the other person is often an unhealed aspect in ourselves. Statistics here are actually very clear about what makes relationships break apart. And that's super surprising and interesting. It is the very thing that people say that they love the most about the partner when they got together, that at the end or, after divorce or split up, becomes the very thing that they hated the most. So that indicates that there's a part that I'm seeing in my partner that I really love, that I maybe would love to have myself. Okay? But as the relationship evolves and this isn't happening, I'm not getting this. It's like we want the gold crumbles. We want this what our partner has, and it doesn't happen for us, and we make our partner responsible for that. That's at least sort of in couple therapy and psychology, a very common phenomenon.
Well, one thing that I love is that when you go to transcodes.com, we're going to post a link to it, that you have the qualities of energy contraction and true love, beautifully illustrated. I love the graphics that you guys use. I don't know how you do them, but they're just beautiful. They're light. There's a lot of light and beautiful energy into it. If there is two pieces of advice you could offer someone right now to accelerate the manifestation of a healthy, happy relationship in their life, what would those two pieces of advice be?
Know yourself would be one. Learn who you are and what it is you truly want from your heart perspective. So that means you got to go a little soul searching. You got to work on yourself a bit. Because the less you have in the way, the better off you are, one. And two, you'll typically have a healthier partner come to you.
And it's easier to communicate things that way as well.
Yeah, exactly.
But the main thing here for people, if they want to, say, prepare, quote unquote, for a relationship that is more true, that is more conducive, that is more, integrous, say, in that way, is to know their own energies and their own triggers and their own stuff. Right. Because that's then, the guarantee for you to become able to discern. The biggest issue that people have in control is that have in relationships is that they try to control the other person. So whenever something happens that they don't like, they try to change the other person. And if you know your energy, and all the things that we talked about earlier, have a strategy how to switch out, how to realign to your heart and really ask yourself, is this me or is this him or whatever? Then it's a lot easier to get past that, to get out of it again. And you may not be able to resolve everything right away, but it's a wonderful shifting strategy, and then you can come back to the issue later, maybe a few minutes or a few hours later, and then discuss it without all this emotional overlay and all the projection.
Well, I highly recommend that everyone listening follow your advice, because if you don't, and you don't take their advice, that's what's going to happen to you. You're going to wind up with someone crazy, and they're going to try to kill you. So listen to the show and make sure you do everything that Jeff and Jona say to do.
All right, Ryan. Next show, we definitely need to talk about following advice or recommendations.
Absolutely.
That's a good subject here. How far we've gotten in our lives with listening to other people's recommendations.
Listen to you guys. I mean, I follow your advice and I'm happy. One time I didn't follow your advice and I spontaneously I was set on fire. That's horrible.
Instant combustion.
Yeah. I was on fire. I was like, oh my God.
No, the problem with relationship advice is that it's actually better not to listen to other people's advices.
Wow.
It's much more efficient if we learn how to trust in our own heart's navigator, that can help us to get through all these different life situations, because there's nobody can actually fully grasp, the complexity and the full context of things. So we can break things down. We know patterns that people have, and there's a big part here of energy coaching at transCODES, to help people through relationship issues, addressing the relationship holistically, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and energetic, because these things can all work together and aren't, easy, separable. So for most people, the best advice is to listen to their own heart, listen to their own truth. Find your truth and listen to it and trust it.
Trust your gut. And If you happen to be overweight, you just have more gut to trust. So good for you. And that concludes today's edition of Heart Warriors Radio. Thank you so much for listening. To learn more about Heart Warriors Radio, please go to outerlimitsradio.com. Go to the icon that says Heart Warriors Radio. You can listen to this show and all the previous ones. Learn more about Jeff and Jona. Please go to the website at transcodes.com. Mr. Jeff Casper, Ms. Jona Bryndis, it's a great honor to be with you as always. And we'll see everyone back here next week. Take good care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening.